components that you would be asked to vote on next meeting. So informational at this point. And then obviously if you have any questions, it's a big document, so I'm gonna go over some high points. You know, we have a month before you basically, we need to make a decision. But overall, and I'll point to some of the dollars or the schedules later, but our overall revenue is projected to be about $12.6 million. And that's comprised of really three main things. Sales tax at about $4.5 million, property tax collectively at about just shy of $700,000. So just a little north of $5 million. And we are projecting and budgeting sales tax to be down. That's kind of done more from being conservative. That sales tax is a bit hard to predict, and you know we prefer to be budget under and budget from a lower amount than to budget higher and receive a lower amount. So that's the basis behind that decision. Utility revenue is about 3.9, which is up a bit over 2025's anticipated amounts. And then the remaining revenue is basically fees, licensing fines, other types of collections that you make, and most notably grant revenue. That one of the things we've placed in the 2026 budget that I see that you're going to talk about a little later is about a $1.1 million sewer capital outlay grant. So that's placed in the budget at this point in time with a corresponding capital outlay expenditure. As Tandy mentioned a minute ago, ARPA sort of coming to an end, so we don't have any ARPA funding or expenditures budgeted in 2026. From an expense standpoint, we've got about $12.3 million, 2.5 in capital outlay. Embedded in that number is about $1.1 million from capital outlay supported from state funding. We've got about $1.7 million in general administration, which is pretty comparable to last year. Your police department at $2,059,000, and that's up about $85,000. But there's some capital outlay, one-time expenditures embedded in that number, and I'll show you I'll refer to the capital expenditure schedule a little later. $1.4 million in road and drainage, that's up about $224,000, and that's really three things driving that: capital outlay, road maintenance, and materials. $705,000 in sanitation, which is comparable to this fiscal year, and right at about $5 million in utility expenses. And that's up about $1.1 million, and that's largely due to that grant that we put in the budget. Overall, you'll see in a moment, overall net deficit of about $172,000, but $1.4 million in city-funded capital outlay. So from that viewpoint, if you look at backing that out, you're about $1.2 million operating surplus. So you're really funding some one-time costs in 2026 if we move forward with this plan. General fund, just to kind of hit these highlights, revenues, basically we maintain consistently with 2025 with the exception of sales tax being budgeted at a lower amount. Property tax is just minor increases. Property tax would usually experience minor increases from year to year as properties added to the rolls. Sometimes you'll have reassessments and that type of thing will drive some increases, but it's usually pretty steady. And then franchise taxes makes up a good bit of revenue for you, and that's pretty comparable to last year. I mentioned a number of the departments above, but most of them are budgeted consistently with 2025, with up to including up to a 6% salary adjustment, excluding elected officials. And then capital outlay in your general fund is about $1,142,000, so that's where the lion's share of it's residing. But net surplus in the general fund of about $394,000 with $1,142,000 in capital outlay. On the next page, water, gas, and sewer. Overall revenues up expected for 2025 in your water, gas fund, and then same salary increases for COLA. And then remaining expenses, expecting those to be comparable to 2025. We do have some minor capital outlay in water and gas, and with that, it does have a deficit of about $376,000 embedded in water and gas. Sewer overall revenues expected to be consistent, so no major changes. And operational expenses are expected to be comparable there, but we have about $262,000 budgeted in capital outlay items with those spending of ARPA, as I mentioned earlier. Net deficit of about $189,000 with about 262,000 in capital outlay. And then the last two items you have are debt service fund, which is the debt associated with this building, pretty much very, very steady, comparable to where we've been. We transfer some money in, and the debt service is pretty much the same from year to year, so nothing complex there. And then the grant funded program is your Section 8, and as we just mentioned under item 9, is amending that Section 8 grant just from a technical compliance point of view. But both have minor surpluses. And then sort of the last schedule I want to go over with you is after that verbiage on assumptions, and it kind of gives you a broad overview of what's happening monetarily. As you look at your net surplus deficit, you can see you're about a deficit of about 172 budgeted that I mentioned earlier, but a lot of components going on here. You know, capital outlay, the city funded capital outlay at $1.4 million. You add that back, and I do that from the point of view of how are we operating from a profit and loss point of view. And you can see that net we're about $1.2 million. So a lot of flexibility. I mean, you experience contingencies throughout the course of the year, there are unplanned things. So you really want to have some flexibility, and so that clearly gives you that kind of number. The other thing I'll look at is just what's happening with cash, and so what's in our sewer and water and gas funds is we budget for depreciation. So this is really non-cash expenditures that we recognize on an ongoing basis. So when I add those back, you can see your operating cash surpluses are about $1,558,000. So I mean, I like the flexibility that you have there. And it also shows if we're going to spend $1.4 million in capital outlay, how we can fund that. Is it coming from current resources or past resources that are now residing in our bank account? And as you can see, what that's doing is we're pretty much using current resources without having to go to our bank account and pay for some of this stuff. And so once you back that out, our net cash surplus, you can see, is a positive about $140,000. So should be able to hold on to the cash position that we have is sort of the point of the exercise. As you kind of get into the rest of the document, so the next page, which is really the first page of the budget report, this gives you a synopsis of what 2025 is projected to finish at, and right at about $11,465,000 in top line revenue and about $10.8 million in expenditures. We've got some other non-operating items like interest income and things that we've earned, but expecting a pretty nice surplus in finishing this fiscal year. And then on page 3 gives you the same look, but as of 2026. So it sort of penetrates into some of the details of your budget. And there you can see that we're basically at right at that 172 on page 4, kind of the third line from the bottom, and the column all the way to the right. Your total expected deficit is about 172 after if we expend all the capital outlay that we have budgeted. But it leaves you can see your fund balances are in really great shape. If we execute according to our 2026 plan, you'd be at about $18.6 million in fund balance, which is pretty strong considering the size of the operation. As you get past that page, you start to see the individual funds, and so you'll see your general fund, water, gas, and sewer funds, and the 2 small debt service and that grant fund. So this is where all the details lie. So all that's in there for you. And as you get towards the back of that document, there are sample ordinances, basically where we would amend our 25 budget for the Section 8 grant and then adopt the 2026 budget. And I also have a list for you of all your capital outlay, anticipated capital outlay for next year. So realize that's a lot, but that's why we come early and give you some time to really digest it. And so if you have questions, we'll have basically the next 30 days to address those that you're comfortable voting for or voting on it next month. With that, that's what I had prepared for you.
So, Mr. Tommy, are they able to reach out to you if they have any questions? Because we can't per se meet again because of the meeting law.
Right.
But they can contact your office.
You guys can contact me. I can come out here, meet with you individually. whatever you need. Be happy to help.
I just want everyone to kind of be clear on the budget and going forward in case they're asking any questions.
Right. Yeah, the big things is, for the most part, your operating and costs are expected to be pretty comparable. So nothing that's really earth shattering there. It's just capital outlays, a big investment, and it's something that's been deferred from what I understand. So you have to decide, you want to make the investment. And so breaking it down like I did, just kind of get you an idea of where does it lead to. And so it's not disturbing your current cash position, which is nice.
Maybe in motion to.
You did introduce it.
Okay, can I get anyone from the audience have any questions? Can I get a motion?
The motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Gordon, second by Councilwoman Joseph. Roll call, please.
Ms. Joseph? Yes. Ms. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Ms. King? Yes. Payne? Motion passed.
Thank you.
11, adopt a resolution for the execution of the grant agreement with the Division of Administration for 2025 fiscal year Louisiana Community Development Block Grant of $1.117906 for improvements to the sewer system. Adrian?
Is the copy of the resolution in binders? Or do I need to read the resolution?
No, it's in the binder.
Is in binders, so I'm not going to read it in its entirety. This is an engagement, so it does need council approval to authorize the mayor to sign the engagement. But there's a lot of stipulations that we have to go through.
All three pages.
That if you look at the very, let's see where it is on. It's on Exhibit A, which is the page before the, see this page, that's Exhibit B. If we go to the page before Exhibit A, it lists everything that we have to do in order to even be able to spend that 1.1 million before they will tell us we can go ahead and do that. And some of those things have specific timelines to even though they give us a 5-month period to do that, but once we do have the grant, as I mentioned, one of the things that for the grant that's not necessarily on this page, but within the grant and the grant workshop that the mayor and I both went to last week, is that once we get the money in our account, we've got 3 days to pay the vendor. So we can't come up with an invoice, ask y'all to authorize payment because we only meet every month. If we get that invoice in next week, we've got 3 days to pay once we get the money. So we've got a resolution that for anything related to this grant, that we are giving her the authority to make the payments, do whatever other requirements they ask us to do, the reports to do, and we're also in this resolution, professional engineering consultants, the one that submitted the application on our behalf and is for sewer system improvements, and talked with Mr. Ericol, is going to primarily be used to repair the sewer lines. That's with this geared to, but it could change because we can't submit bids until we have all of this information into them that they're asking for us. So this resolution is strictly for the mayor to sign the engagement and to do whatever other things that's necessary to do in the interim when the council meets, and then that she will then get in front of the council and let you know what has happened in the interim. If there's any questions, a lot of information there.
You go.
Have any questions?
Question?
Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'm sorry, anyone from the?
You can do the motion.
Okay, motion by Councilwoman Gordon, second by Councilman Hubble. Anyone from the audience wish to comment? Roll call, Ms. Reed.
Joseph? Yes. Gordon?
Yes.
Hubble?
Yes.
King? Yes. Payne? Motion passes.
Adopt a resolution authorizing the municipal clerk to certify the authorized signature form for the Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Program.
One of the paperwork that we need to submit with the agreement is the authorized signature form. This authorized signature form is who we're designating that can ask the state office to release the funds to pay our vendors. So the 4 people that we have chosen to do this are the 4 people that sign our checks. Terecita, Pattan, myself, Charlene, Gordon, Lance, Joseph. By ordinance, it's the mayor pro tem, the chief administrative officer, or the chief financial officer. So they will also be the ones that can request the Louisiana Community Block Program to release funds so that we can pay them once we submit the vendor. This form says that since the mayor is the one that's going to be involved in asking this, she cannot certify the form. We need someone else to certify the form. We've selected the municipal clerk. The requirements is that since we're selecting someone else other than the mayor to certify this form, the governing body, that would be the council, needs to adopt a resolution granting the authority for the municipal clerk to certify this form for those 4 signatures.
Can I get a motion? Okay, motion. Okay, motion by Councilman Hubble, second by Councilwoman Gordon. Anyone from the audience have any questions or concerns? Roll call, please.
Ms. Joseph? Yes. Gordon?
Yes.
Hubble?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Motion passes.
13, authorize the payment for a lawsuit settlement by the Louisiana Municipal Risk Management Agency in the amount of $2,500. Evan?
Yes, Mayor, council members, we have received a document from Louisiana Municipal Association asking for payment in the amount of $2,500 in reference to one of the claims that have been made against the city, a lawsuit that has been filed against the city. We were a little confused about what that document was. I did reach out to LMA today. This is not a settlement of this claim. And just so you know, this is the claim about the house that was incorrectly torn down by somebody who was not in the city. But in any event, this is not for a settlement of that claim. Rather, this is just for the payment of the city's deductible under the insurance policy. The LMA has now started to make payments in the defense of the claim. As a result, because they're now making those payments, they're asking for the city to go ahead and pay its deductible for this type of claim, which is $2,500. Thereafter, insurance will be on the hook for paying, the remainder of the litigation expenses. I've reached out to the attorney who LMA has appointed to defend the city in that lawsuit. So I'm gonna, since this matter is, we're now making a payment on this matter, even though it's only for the deductible, I'm gonna ask for an update in terms of the status of that case, and then once I have that, I will plan to bring that to the council just to provide an update on where things stand in that case.
I don't understand. Are we being responsible for the house being torn down? I thought we didn't have any.
We are sued, and the individuals are claiming that the city is responsible. I don't want to get into
How are we
weeds.
responsible? I mean,
Well, we don't think we are. And
So
that's
why
why I
do we
was
have to
concerned
pay?
about if this was a possible settlement. And I was pleased to learn this is not a settlement. The city's not settling.
So why are we paying if we're not?
This is your
responsible?
insurance policy deductible. Like, when you make a claim on your automobile, your house, you have your deductible. You got to make your $500 deductible or and then insurance covers the rest. It's the same thing with these liability policies. So for every claim that's asserted, against the city, that, you then tender that claim to your insurance company, the city has a portion to pay. You're responsible for the first X amount of dollars in terms of defending that claim, and then the insurance policy kicks in after that. So that's what we are. We're paying our insurance deductible on the claim, and they're going to continue to defend the city in that matter.
I don't think we should.
But we have to. Yeah.
I mean, I know we have to,
Yeah.
but if we weren't responsible, we didn't tear it down, we didn't order the tearing down, why should we have to pay a deductible if we're not in?
Yeah, payment of the
involved in?
deductible has nothing to do with whether the city
So
is
they'll
liable.
give us
or
our
not.
deductible back if?
No, it's yeah, it's.
Well, I don't think we should because we wouldn't liable for it. We didn't tear it down or we didn't have anything to do with it.
I know, but you know, we tendered it to our insurance company, and again, that has nothing to do with whether the city's actually responsible for what they claim or not. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, if you're going to submit the claim to your insurance under the policy, you know, you're required for, you know, X amount of dollars. Or the first X amount of dollars in this situation for this type of claim is $2,500. And then the insurance policy kicks in from there. Kind of like your health insurance.
So
kinda
really
like your
they're
car
saying
insurance.
that we had a part in their house being
That's the
demolished.
people who are suing the city. They claim that the city has.
And what is our lawyer doing to defeat that we don't
Well, that's
have
why
no
I'm gonna.
claim?
I want to go ahead and get a status update from them, and then I plan to bring that probably next month.
Because I mean, if we have an attorney that's fighting, we shouldn't even have to be paying the deductible if we not
That's what
responsible
these
for tearing it down.
expenses. Yeah, and that's probably the payments that our insurance company is making to the attorney who's defending it on behalf of the city. So now that the insurance company is actually making pay, you know, they've started spending money to defend the city in it. That's when they're saying, all right, you know, they weren't going to charge you the deductible until they actually started incurring costs. Now that they're incurring costs, you know, the city has to go ahead and pay its deductible.
Still don't think it's fair.
I understand.
So
we
after
have-
once it's
Correct.
determined that the city
Yeah.
isn't liable, I guess she was asking, do we get refunded? But we
No.
don't because it's
No.
our insurance policy.
Right.
Okay.
But seem like our attorney should be fighting the issue that the city has no involvement. We did not order for them to demolish the house. We didn't have anything to do with it. So I just feel that our attorney needs to step up and say, hey, the city is not responsible, so we should not have to pay this.
No,
It's risk management.
But yeah, this is
attorney.
coming from our
Yeah,
Right.
I know what it is, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
someone needs to speak up on our behalf.
Yeah.
They are, and you know, they're defending the city in this matter, and you know, it's what they have filed in the court, of course, is public record. But in any event, you know, I'm going to ask for a more thorough update in terms of where they at with the case, any developments that happened with that case, and you know, that'll be a good time. We can do that in an executive session, hopefully next month.
Can I get a motion?
Motion now.
Motion by Councilwoman King, second. Second by Councilwoman Joseph. Roll call, please.
Ms.
I'm
Joseph?
sorry, anyone from the public have anything to say?
I agree with Ms. Gordon. I mean, that's kind of like somebody getting in an accident and I had to be close and they want me to pay their deductible. I say wait until this gets determined, and then if it's not in our favor, then pay the $2,500. But not right now. I mean, that's kind of to me like saying
We guilty.
you're accepting liability. I agree with her.
I understand that's not how it works. Again, this is not us paying the other side. This is us paying our insurance company who we procured this insurance from. We don't have to use the insurance. You know, we could be, but if that was the situation, then the city would actually be paying all the attorneys to defend them in it, which you would be paying more, way more than $2,500. So, you know, I understand, but, you know, that's just not how the system is, you know, that's not how insurance works. So,
Need a vote.
Yeah, roll call.
Ms. Joseph?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon?
No.
Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Ms. Payne? Mr. King? Ms.
Yes.
King, I'm sorry, and Mr. Payne? Okay, motion passes, ma'am. 14.
14, consider authorizing Chief Mitchell to hire the following police officers: Russian Juno at step grade 112B, Charles Williams at step grade 112B. They are here tonight.
Good evening, council,
Evening.
mayor, everybody. I brought these two guys with me. I spoke briefly of them last week. Hear what they got to say, and they can answer
Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing?
Alright.
Do you have any questions of me?
You are,
I'm Russian. I'm sorry.
I can't hear, can
I
you
am Russian.
closer to the mic?
Hold the mic.
Yeah.
don't be nervous,
No, I'm not nervous.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
really not.
Okay.
I'm not used to,
talking in front of people.
I do better on the street. No, I've been in law enforcement for so long since 2011 when I came back from Afghanistan. Been both certified since 2012. I'll move to Central in, we are we now? 21. In 2021. Worked in Addis for 2 years and I resigned from there back in October. I really can't see myself doing anything else with law enforcement. It's a calling, it's a passion.
Well, is it safe for me to ask why you resigned from Addis?
No, it's perfectly fine. There's one thing you're gonna learn about me. I don't run from my mistakes. I will face it head on. I had an issue with driving fast. I'm 44 years old and I still learn lessons the hard way. But it's been a 6-month hard lesson learned. I had, back in October, I was running a little bit late for work. I was coming down, I want to say it was Hubble Road, and I was getting after it. And I had someone calling complaining to one of our council members. And when I got to work at the end of my shift, my chief calls me in and says, "Hey, this is what's going on. This is the allegation." He says, "I pulled it up on GPS." And I looked at him, I said, "Yeah, I was." I said, "I'm not gonna lie to you, I was." And I asked him right off, I said, "Do they want my badge?" And he said, "More than likely, yes." I said, "Well, if it's okay with you, if I can resign." And he said, "I have no problem with that," and he's given me beautiful recommendations ever since. It was a great bunch of guys I worked with.
That's kind of hard for just that one incident. Just
There
to,
was
take your
30,
badge.
actually. There
how
was
many times?
30.
Oh.
I got a verbal and a written. And
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And every time I was really late. The bad thing is you leave in plenty enough time, but you hit Hooper Road and you come down. I was going to add it, so 110 and then hitting on 910 is just like a parking lot.
And so where you resided now?
I live on Blackwater in Central.
Oh, so you mean you gonna burn up to get here now, huh?
Oh no, man! I think the old bridge is so much easier that way. Lord have mercy.
Okay.
Let's stay away from that new bridge if I can.
Okay.
I mean, if y'all have any questions, I'm getting more than happy to answer. Like I said, I've been doing this for, 14 years. I've got a lot of experience that I would love to hand over to you.
What experience you gonna bring to us?
Everything I have.
What you have?
Patrol, investigations. I've been in patrol for 14 years. I've done a little bit of investigations.
So saying that I just gave you 3 breaks, 1, 2, 3. So
That's right.
how many breaks are you gonna give citizens to go out? Think about that.
Be honest with you, I've never been big on tickets. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like to patrol. I like to patrol and I like to keep people safe. If I observe something that's ridiculous, yes, I will stop. If I see somebody going 15 miles over the speed limit, they're gonna get stopped.
But I think he was asking you about.
Yes, and yes, I actually have given a lot of passes.
Okay. Okay. At least you're honest.
Like I said, I will never run for my mistakes. I won't do it. I'll face them head on. If you ask me, I'll tell you yeah, I did.
To be fair to him, in this interview, he did tell me everything up front. And when I reached out to Addis and I spoke to Assistant Chief Pollard and Chief Langlois, they both said the exact same thing, but they gave them outstanding recommendations. And he is reliable, honest, he's gonna do everything he has to do to help the department out there. They really didn't want to lose him, but they knew that it was over there.
Yeah. Okay.
But talking to him, he seemed like he was sincere, and he did learn his lesson.
Hard lesson, huh?
6 months more lesson. Like I said, I'm 44 years old. I'm still learning lessons.
We appreciate you being candid about those instances.
Yeah, it's an extension. Not just dropping off on the bridge and being right at work. You have an extra.
I'm surprised Bruder didn't stop you going through.
That's not.
Good evening, Councilwoman.
Hey.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm born and raised in Pattan, Louisiana. I've been law enforcement for 4 years.
And I see you still working there, huh?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
gotta give them their 2 weeks notice?
Of course.
Okay.
So you're in Iberville now?
Yes, ma'am.
We switching the room, huh?
You see that, huh?
And why you leaving over there to come to a little town like Port Allen?
Well,
Talk up, I wanna hear you.
we had an opportunity to talk
Okay.
to Chief Mitchell. He spoke about his vision, and I feel like I'll be a great asset to the team.
I'm about to do some research on that. I know a lot of people from Blackman.
Good. Charles Williams.
Yeah, I've been in prison.
You born and raised in Blackman?
Yes, sir.
So with that being said,
But wait a minute, hold on a minute. How long you been working in Blackman, you say?
I've
4
been in law
years.
enforcement in 4 years, but I've been in Hubble for a year, 8 months.
Okay.
any other questions for me?
You did your homework with them, Chief?
I did.
You satisfied?
I am.
All right, then. As long as you satisfied, we satisfied.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you,
Are
Chief.
we gonna do them together or separate?
It depends on the motion.
Can we do it together?
Yep.
We
do it
accept
all
both
the
officers.
So the motion to approve the
Okay,
recommendations in
Recommendation for both
globo.
officers.
In global.
Motion to approve in globo.
I made that motion.
So I'll say.
Okay, so motion by Councilwoman Gordon, second by Councilman Payne. Anyone from the audience have any questions?
I have a question for Mr. Green. Did you play with the Green Devils?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Okay, what position?
We just win.
Oh, Lord. Okay, well, okay, we're gonna have that against you.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Joseph? Yes. Ms. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Ms. King? Yes. Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Motion passes, Mayor.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We'll get with you.
If y'all see this man here, please arrest him.
Miss
And if you
Tamika,
see this one, put her away. You arrest me, but put her away.
she's our payroll and human resource person, so if you wanna step out in the hall to talk to her for a second, she'll get with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
15, presentation of the monthly financial report. Mr. Davis?
Did everyone get the email this past Friday this time?
Yes.
Finding multiple email addresses for those that did, just make sure you had it. So you had any questions for me before I gave you some highlights or lowlights as they may be? This time I put the revenues and expenses by fund together as opposed to giving you the revenues first, and I had a little bit more time, another month, try to clean it up a little bit better so it's easier to understand because your revenues and expenses should go together. So you know, so the first page back in front is our general fund. So the revenues, we've already collected more as of April 30th with 2 months left to go, and we budgeted we were gonna have. So that's a very good problem to have, that we collected more than we thought we would 10 months ago. Our expenditures in the general fund are, right now, we're at 83.33% of the year. Most of the departments are operating under that, and we don't need to do a budget amendment because we're not over, and we don't expect to be 5% over in those accounts. One of the things that I will point out, some of the things in the general fund, the expenditures for the police department, in the capital outlay, that 176% that we see there, that was that flock camera. We had budgeted for the tasers and the body cameras that they were, but we hadn't budgeted for the flock cameras in that particular line item. So that's why that particular line item is showing such a large expenditure. But they have money in other areas of their budget to cover that, so they're not over budget in their department. The police department's near the bottom of page 1. Another thing, if we look on the back of page 1, the third block, community development in capital outlay, we didn't have anything budgeted there, but now we have a $25,000. Part of that, and so I don't misspeak on the grant, this Rose, that program that we had from the Louisiana legislature, that's where we're putting the expenditures that we incurred to that line item, but it will be reimbursed through that grant. So but we have to show it somewhere on our expenditure, so we're putting it there so that it's easier to keep track of. So it does show that, makes our expenses look like they're more than what they have, but it will be paid back by that grant. The next page was the sewer system, and then water and gas, and the federal funding part. I didn't have any notes or highlights, so if y'all have any questions for me, after having it on Friday, I'll be more than happy to, well, I will try to answer them. I mean, I have the answers all to myself. I'm still learning a lot about what goes where.
Well, I have to admit, I didn't read the budget because I've been under the weather, so I will go home and read it and study. And if I have any questions, I'll call you.
Yes, ma'am. And anybody's free to come to my office and ask questions too. If you want to look at some documents, I'll be happy to try to assist you in answering those questions you may have.
Okay. You're doing an awesome job, Adrian.
Thank you.
There's that goes with your reimbursement part, I just got that this afternoon. I think it's 50% up.
If there's no questions, thank you.
16, condemnation proceedings,
None of this time.
alcohol beverage permits. Announcements.
Thanks, first. General announcements, of course, Family Day in the Park, May 24th. June 17th is the District H meeting, and I would, if anybody is going, please let me or Miss Lynette know. That's going to be in Addis,
June 17th.
June 17th. So
What
we
time?
kind of need to know ASAP. So kind of give us a call within the next couple of days so they can.
What time?
I want to say they'll have a reception at 5 and their meeting starts at 6.
You can put me down.
And Juneteenth, of course, is June 21st and 22nd, the celebration. And y'all got a flyer that refers to that. And we're going to start an all-out campaign flow for that starting tomorrow. The LMA convention is July 29th to 31st. And if y'all going, you kind of really need to go like no ASAP so we can get the early bird registration.
What is that from?
LMA annual
When is it?
convention. It's going to be in Lake Charles this year, the Lake Charles Civic Center.
July 29th through the 31st. I thought it was in August.
It normally is. It's like right at the tail end of July. It's not almost like the first weekend in August.
I'm looking at this flyer for Juneteenth. Who's the River Dogs?
It's a little cheap band. It's an expensive band that we're trying to get to open up. It's supposed to be pretty good. It's a new one. And then that's for Saturday because we really we got Lucy on Saturday night with fireworks.
I thought he had retired.
Oh man, he just closed up French Quarter Fest. He was at Jackson. I So he's there, so we look forward to getting that whole band and that show, and then Sunday the mellow band and then Tyree. So we wanna stay well within budget, but do maximum entertainment. Our senior dinner will only be Sunday, but we're having a new feature on, Friday evening. We'll have our presentation of Miss Juneteenth, which is a scholarship pageant. And, our chairman of community development is able to get it.
So are we going with, Mr. Carlos still with any rental thing for the kids?
We had, I didn't, is that the one with the games and stuff?
The train rides and all that. Are we getting that this year or what?
We just, so far, we only had booked the spacewalks, but we do have funds that we can get it, so I'll give you a call in the morning. I do have your letters to the mayors.
Okay.
I know to the son, for the August event. And I think that's all I have there.
Okay, for our graduates of both schools, tomorrow is Brutally High's, graduation, and Port Allen High's is Friday. So we wanna wish all the kids well with that. Mr. Cersei exhibit, I hate that it's Friday as well. It's Friday from 6 to 8. I think at the museum I saw, posted, because we have graduation, so, but it is tomorrow as well from 6 to 8. Friday, I'm sorry, I'm thinking today. Yeah, Friday, from 6 to 8, and then, I had Family Day in the park as well from 12 to 7 on May 24th. Any other announcements? Yes, that was, moved from, last week because they thought it was gonna rain. So it is on the 22nd, the crawfish boil.
Crawford Falls.
Ma'am?
Crawford Falls tomorrow.
No, the 22nd, yeah, that they moved. Oh, we do have the cyber.
And the side is on the 22nd.
The cyber is earlier that day and it's for all city employees, mandatory. If you cannot make it, it's from 11 to 2 at William and Lee Park. So City Hall will be closed. We're gonna put it on the website from 11 to 2. It's a mandatory training that our auditors said that we have to incorporate with our trainings now. So the cybersecurity will be Thursday, next Thursday, William and Lee Park from 11 to 2. It is mandatory. If you're not able to make it, you will have to submit your own certificate to myself, Ms. Rose, or Ms. Lynette. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Hubble, second by Councilwoman